Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Welcome to Hearts of Kyber. How you doing today?
How are you doing, Miss Aubrey and Mr. John?
Doing fantastic.
I'm doing really good. My chair gets ordered this week, so yeah.
Yay!
It'll be here by October.
Well, and welcome, viewers. We are so happy that our cavers, splunkers, and dwellers are here. So, yay! So, are you guys excited for this awesome episode? It's super exciting.
I am excited because we, once again, we have a special guest, somebody who is an expert about our topic tonight, and can let us know what they deal with, how they treat it, and also, give you some ideas if you also deal with this. Lucky and fortunate, well, not lucky enough for us, but we are lucky enough to have Miss Aubrey. She is somebody that deals with this. Deals with celiac disease. So we are going to have our little interview section in the middle with Miss Aubrey and find out more about this. This is pretty scary, Aubrey. I when I was doing research on this, I didn't realize, first off, I didn't realize how many people affected. I also didn't realize how it seems to affect everybody differently. Even the triggers, like it doesn't seem like you can just say, oh, if I eat a piece of wheat or something like that, it's not the same for everybody.
No, I mean, different people have different levels. And also there is like gluten intolerance versus celiac. And then that's not to be mixed up with Crohn's either, because Crohn's is a completely different thing as well. So yeah, it's different levels and they often get overlapped.
Right,
and that is and wheat allergy as well. There's a wheat allergy, there's wheat intolerance, and then there's celiac. And I just was one of the lucky few that has the celiac gene.
You party animal.
Yeah, it actually runs in my family. So it is a genetic. It's actually you can have a genetic predisposition for it, which I do. I went and got genetic testing done, and yeah.
Wow. Well, let's start off, since we're getting right into this. Let's start off with our definition, so everybody's on the same page. So that everybody in the audience can know what we are going to be talking about tonight.
Yes, let me get it for us. All right, here you go. Do you want to read it, Van? You never get to read.
No, I can't. I have no vision tonight.
Oh, all righty. You want to do it, John?
Yeah, sure, I can. Celiac, a disease in which the small intestine is hypersensitive to gluten, leading to difficulty in digesting food. Oh, let me tell you, it's a huge. I feel for you. My girlfriend's daughter, youngest, has this, and she's gluten intolerant.
I hate to sound stupid, but I just feel like if I don't know, maybe there's people in the audience don't know either. Please. What is the definition of gluten? What is exactly gluten?
So gluten is a protein that is found in wheat. And in any of the relatives of wheat. So barley, hops, all of those actually contain a protein in there called gluten, and that is what the glutinous fibers make it so things stick to it. And that's why in breads, that's why they use a lot of wheat in bread and all these other things. And because it makes it very fibrous. it actually helps stick things
It's a
together.
binder. Yeah.
It's a binder. Yeah.
Is
So that is what it is.
Is gluten natural or is it a man-made thing?
It's
I
natural.
believe it's a natural. It's a natural
It's
thing.
naturally found. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a natural found thing. However, there have been a lot of the GMOs, like genetically modified wheat has a modified has the modified gluten protein in it.
Okay.
Same with a lot of these. Oh, so that can contribute to the allergies or the
I was
intolerances that
I was
that are
interested in
there.
wondering about that because I've read somewhere that it was around like the 50s and 60s when we started to see a rise in different,
Hmm.
particularly wheat intolerances and or not gluten,
Hmm.
well, maybe gluten, but just wheat intolerances in general.
Yes,
I'm not saying it didn't exist before, but I'm saying we seem to see a steady rise and a much bigger
yes.
population. And I was wondering, is that because we didn't know to recognize it before, or is it because of GMOs? That have now started to affect the human body.
I think it is a bit of both because celiac
Exactly.
disease has been around for a long time.
Yeah. It's not new.
It's not a new disease. It's been around.
As long as people have practically.
Yes, there have
Yeah.
been people that have been celiac
We
throughout
just
the years.
didn't know what we were looking for is
So,
what it
so
is.
this
We
would have
didn't
been
know. Yeah.
around in say like the
Sorry.
dark ages and stuff like that when there was a lot more planters and people that were growing their own gardens.
Hmm.
They would have been dealing with this as well, except for I'm guessing they wouldn't have known what it was.
Hmm.
Yeah. And that could be where some people got superstitions that when somebody would eat something, somebody would have stomach cramps or have massive bowel movements and think they were possessed, or maybe somebody, did
Hmm.
something to them. Oh, that
Yes,
person did something to me. They're
witchcraft.
a witch,
Wow.
type of thing, and superstitions and fears and stuff because if we don't understand it. So we didn't,
And people have died from this too, and
yes.
that's where a lot of
Oh,
the
yes.
mysterious deaths can happen too, as well,
Oh,
because
yes.
it is a very serious. It's a very serious condition, and you can
Right.
die from it. I
Yes, you
mean,
can.
it
But
does
this
literally
one
make
this
a
one
big
kind of
difference.
scared me in that with a lot of the diseases and a lot of the things that we've been, we're on episode 41 now.
I
Hmm.
know.
With a lot of the things that done in the past, it may not have been exactly the same for everybody, but there were usually symptoms that you could follow across people. The exception that I can think of being fibromyalgia. That was one that also seemed to affect people in very different ways.
Yes.
But for the most part, most diseases you can say, okay, you got red swollen skin, you've got, inflamed, lymph nodes. That usually means blah, blah, blah.
Hmm.
But this one, I mean, you could break out in a rash. It could be a
Yes.
lot more serious, or you could have just severe pains. This was
Yes.
kind of
Hmm.
scary to me, actually.
Migraine pain,
Yeah, it's
bunches of other
migraine
stuff.
headache. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff that goes with it, and so it makes it a very hard to always diagnose. But usually, lethargy is another symptom that you can have. If you have it, you can get very lethargic. So it is. So a lot of people may have it, and they don't even know they have it. That's the even scarier part, is that they don't know
Right.
that they have it, and so they're getting these allergic reactions. They're going, "Well, I don't know what this is." And like acid reflux, for instance, is a very normal like one of the symptoms you get, and it's so normalized to have it that you don't even know that you have it. And you're
Because
going,
you
oh,
just
I have acid reflux. I have GERD. Oh, must have been something I ate. Yes, but it does that they don't real like it's like, oh, maybe I just have GERD and not like an allergy to
Exactly.
heat or like
And you're
I
not
have
thinking
celiac.
you're not thinking any further than that. So
And
the
that's
problem
one of the
continues to
dangers of
happen.
having it.
Yeah.
no.
For years, yeah. It's really interesting how it can manifest itself.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
again, people may you may have it since childhood and not know, and
Exactly.
it
Right.
gets worse and worse and worse. Causes
Right.
weight
Well,
gain. It causes all these things. Anyways, we could talk about that. Let's actually get into our media.
yeah,
Let's
yeah,
have
yeah.
House explain it to us. It's only House can do. All right, here we go.
Is what do they use in the NICU to bind it together?
Wheat gluten.
It's great stuff, unless your body can't tolerate it.
The baby didn't have colic, he had celiac disease?
Just like mom. Celiac can be triggered by all kinds of stress. Bills, childbirth, drunk husband. Every time she had a bowl of pasta or a slice of bread or slosh of soy sauce, her small intestine became more damaged, less able to absorb the vitamins and minerals in her bloodstream. Her body couldn't absorb enough niacin, it caused the pellagra. Couldn't absorb vitamin K, it caused the bleeding. And celiac is why the baby's meds didn't work. His body just couldn't absorb them. Switch mom to IV nutrition. It's gluten-free. It'll spruce her villi right up.
No, celiac causes nutritional deprivation. Our patient has excess calcium.
Tell him what causes excess calcium. With a chaser of bloody vomit.
Celiac patients are susceptible to cancer of the stomach lining. She has malt lymphoma.
Well, she's your patient now.
Yeah, pretty serious stuff. I love the way they did the
yeah.
animation in that.
Yeah, I got an animation. I found an animation later for it. But yes, actually, this is true. Parts of that, I mean, of course, obviously, it's traumatized for it. But this is really a very serious thing. And a lot of people, what's really sad is a lot of people downplay this.
Yes, they really do.
They go, oh, you need to be gluten-free. Oh, I mean, my dad is one.
Does that mean you have to eat wheat bread instead of white? It's like, no, I can't eat anything with that. Yeah.
A lot of people are like, oh, do you want to try this beer? I can't. What?
Exactly.
Because I'm a celiac. Oh, well, I mean, yeah.
Watching that clip, what scared me was that they said that the baby had it, and how would you diagnose that in a baby?
That would be super difficult.
The baby can't tell you, oh, my stomach hurts, or oh, you know. Well, I mean, obviously you could see if they're getting a rash or something, but I feel like without the baby being able to communicate, how could you ever detect what it was?
Well, I mean, again, people have different varies, and it gets worse over time, right? And when you say baby, it's probably a toddler because most babies don't actually start eating until they're a little over a year old, most of them. So between 1 and 2 years old, generally.
Yes.
I can imagine maybe if you had a wheat-based baby food or something, or formula.
You could have you could have, I mean, right, but that's something that they try not to. So when they say baby, they generally mean
toddlers. Yeah. Not
I wasn't sure. I think he said baby. He may have said toddler, but I know I
definitely said baby. He said baby, but I mean, it gets passed on. It's a genetic.
And like you said, the same thing as mom has.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
So the other thing. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, he was talking about how serious it was as well. So go ahead.
No, one of the other things they were talking about was mineral absorption, like malabsorption, how you cannot absorb certain minerals. The more and more your intestines gets damaged. So that is something that a lot of celiacs have. They're also they tend to have anemia, and you already have to take supplements anyways. But there is immune deficient. You have some deficiencies that happen over time. Having it. The great thing is as soon as you stop eating wheat, the protein, and this is also the other misconception. A lot of people think that it's in a lot of grains as well. It's specifically found in wheat. Just so everyone knows, I can have rice, I can have corn, I can have anything that is non-gluten.
Exactly.
That is not wheat. And that's what a lot of the misconceptions come from, because they're like, oh, no gluten. What does that exactly mean? It's just saying I can't have wheat. And wheat is found in everything.
Well, in that video, though, he had mentioned a splash of soy sauce.
Yes.
Yes, soy sauce can have it.
Soy sauce has wheat in it.
It's made with wheat stuff in it. Yeah.
A lot of gravies have wheat. A lot of dressings have wheat. A lot of things that you think that are liquid actually have wheat, and that's because the gluten is used as a binder. And so because of that, I have to be I have to read every ingredient on labels on food I actually purchase, because again, the littlest bit of wheat can actually cause serious damage to you.
Oh yeah, it could ruin your whole day.
Or a night.
Whole night. Yes, you're correct.
I actually I cannot have fried foods that are fried in the same oil as other
That's
foods.
right. That's right.
Oh, wow.
So a lot. Yeah, it is a very
transfer
condition. Yeah, a lot of people. It's just as bad as a peanut allergy.
Yes.
Well, I was going to ask Aubrey, with you, and maybe this would be more important when we go, or maybe this is more appropriate for the interview section or whatever. But is it simply oral? Like, do you have to eat it, or like, for instance, like I know when I was a preschool teacher, none of the kids could bring peanut butter to the class because we had a child to where even if she touched a doorknob, that if a child ate a peanut butter sandwich, and then touched the doorknob, and then that child touched the doorknob, the oils from the sandwich would transfer to the doorknob, and it was enough for this child to break out into hives. Could you go work in a wheat field?
Yes, I probably could go. Well, I mean, it depends. Like, because you could breathe in the wheat dust, because wheat does have a dust with it. So probably not. I mean, the difference between the peanut butter and the wheat generally is that wheat is made to like a floury substance.
Hey,
Right.
Mezzo.
That's not Mezzo. It's Robin. It's the boy wonder.
No, we got Mezzo in the chat.
Oh,
and we got Robin coming in at the same time. They were ganging up on us.
It's a party now.
They were ganging up on us.
We got a big echo on your
now
side.
the echoing is back. Uh-oh.
Yep.
Leave again. Yeah, it's echoing.
Yeah, you're echoing really bad. The good news is he's the one person that doesn't need it. He speaks with his hands.
Yeah.
Hey, just to let you know too, Boy Wonder, we just got a new saber in. It is dedicated to you. I just got to figure out the name on it. But this one made it a little easier because there was little blue stripes and it made me think of Nightwing. So I have to figure out how I'm going to configure the name.
I'm so excited too. It's
but
awesome.
your named saber is at the Kyber Cave.
That's cool.
So cooler than mine.
Okay, very cool. Very cool.
Dude, you're in ghost mode. You're gonna have to type that out, Robin.
No, type it all out. Yeah, I can like double not understand you now.
So Aubrey, let's roll that second celebrity one, and then maybe we can do one of the medical ones because I really want to get into talking to you about it. I feel like that's our best resource is you.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it.
So we're here with a very lovely, and I really like her, Jennifer Esposito. It's so nice to have you. And you've written a new book called Jennifer's Way. And in it, you talk about the struggles you had with celiac disease. And before we talk about your particular situation, can you explain what celiac is?
Yeah, it's when you have celiac disease, it's an autoimmune disease. It's not an allergy. It's not a fad. It is most certainly an autoimmune disease that basically when you eat gluten, which is found, natural protein found in wheat, you cannot digest it properly, and it starts to kill or damage the villi, which are in charge of absorbing nutrients from the food. So basically, your body starts to become malnourished. It starts to basically turn on itself.
And obviously, there are a whole host of symptoms. I guess, does it depend on the person in terms of the symptoms that he or she exhibits?
You know, just before coming here, someone said, please mention skin problems. There are so many people that I hear from all the time that don't even have gastro problems. They don't even have those symptoms. Some people have, like I said, skin problems, have infertility issues that they don't know where it's coming from. For me, it attacked my nervous system greatly.
And so how did that manifest itself?
For me, my first symptom was when I was a child. I didn't get, my teeth weren't in correctly, they weren't growing in correctly, I was getting high fevers, sinus infections constantly, and it manifested over the years because the longer it goes without a diagnosis, it becomes to just ravage your body. So for me, it started to wear on my nervous system. So I started to get severe panic attacks.
So not only that, you had sort of a lot of gastrointestinal problems, didn't you?
I did, but I have to say, once you have a panic attack, that's it, game changer. I mean, I was almost housebound for a while.
Really?
Yes.
And so even something like a panic attack can be associated with celiac?
Absolutely, and that is one of the reasons I wrote this book, because I was searching for so long for answers, and when you take gastro problems, backaches, sinus problems, and a panic attack, a doctor, understandably, is trying to put that in a puzzle and make that make sense. Knowing now what I know about this disease, it makes sense to me because the small intestine basically is housing the serotonin in your brain, and it causes depression if it's not balanced. So this is what was happening to me.
Wow, and I know you had a wake-up call, Jennifer, where you actually lost a tooth?
Yeah, I was on the set of Samantha Who, and I was very sick at this time. My skin was yellowing, my skin was peeling off. The amount of moisture I could not get in from topical ingredients. I would have vitamin D, vitamin C. They would tell me everything, nothing was working. Drink tons of water. My knees were giving out like I was drunk. It was really strange. And one day on set, and the girls on set knew that I was struggling. And one day on set, we were doing a scene and a tooth popped out of my mouth.
So strange.
And I literally said, did my tooth just fall out? And she said, yes, you're ill.
That must have been so scary.
Frightening, and I have to tell you, infuriating, because this wasn't something that I left. I went to doctor after doctor.
I was going to say, and what were you told? I mean, I'm assuming
you're crazy. As a female, we're told we're crazy. It's our hormones. You should take Prozac. You should go get therapy, or it's this, it's that. I was told everything from MS to IBS, everything.
I hate that about that women get treated that way. I can't stand that.
I was just going to say that.
That drives me crazy.
Women, and particularly women of color.
Yes.
Even more so.
Yeah, even more so. Yeah.
Yes.
No, I did get told that I did not have celiac disease by a doctor, and I was like, "Well, I haven't had gluten in years." At that point, and they're like, "Oh, that's interesting. I don't think you are," and I'm like, "I am very sure that I am. And I know that I am." So it's really interesting how they and these are the same doctors that also like looked at my throat and was like, "Oh, yeah, you have GERD."
Yeah.
Did not have GERD.
It's a good thing they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I'm so glad they absolutely know. I mean, this is something. Anyways,
what'd you get your PhD for?
Here's the thing, though, is I was just watching right before I came in here when I was resting before the show. I was watching a YouTuber who was doing a review on the movie Idiocracy. I don't know if you've ever.
Oh, that's a good one.
That.
Yes, that's a good one.
You're right, but when I was thinking about the whole hospital scene, you know what I mean, like how dumbed down the doctor was, and how like the administrating nurse was like just pushing buttons, for your disease. What I mean to say is, and even she mentions it in this video, she said, I don't blame the doctors. She said, when you're talking about backache and stomach ache, and you're talking about 4 different things that seem completely disconnected, it's difficult for a doctor to go, okay, well, nail it down to this. And especially a lot of times they say, I think the typical doctor has 10 minutes with each patient or 15 minutes. So when you're trying to figure out something that, it's like trying to figure out a 1,000-piece puzzle in 15 minutes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. There is a way to break the cycle of that 10 or 15 minutes that you get with the doctor, literally. Having worked at a hospital as a secretary, I learned some pretty neat stuff that works for everybody.
Right. I know you mentioned many times before having like an email conversation with your doctor.
Oh yeah, because they have patient portals now, and all of that we had months worth of conversations and stuff. You know how much it costs my copay and my insurance? Zero. Nothing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Going in and talking to them about that stuff would have cost me a fortune. The other thing that you could do too is keep notes on what you're dealing with, like the time, the date, what the weather's like, even a little bit. So you have a little bit to kind of give them, this day, the weather was like this, maybe there's a pattern in the weather that you feel that affects your celiacs or something. And by detailing all of these little things, even if it's just a little descriptor, like 3 a.m., woke up with a pain in my side, on Tuesday, whatever date. And then you just kind of log that. When you go to see your doctor, you go, here, read these. And your doctor will then give you all the time that you need as they go over every one of those, meaning they will break that 10 to 15 minute barrier with no problem for you. And they don't feel bad about it. Don't feel like, oh God, I'm holding up anyone else. The reason I'm saying this is because 98 to 99% of people go in there thinking, I can remember it up here. I'll ask them all the questions. And then you get in there, you sit down on that cold freaking exam table, and your brain goes blank. And of course, there's no symptoms to talk about. So you're like, I came in here for something. Let me tell you, doctors get that 99% of the day. So they just kind of go next. Right. And like if you're a short order cook making burgers the same way, someone comes and says no cheese, no meat, and they keep doing the same thing. That's what happens with your doctor. So you have to break that cycle. Come in with notes, hand it to them. And that way they can better diagnose you.
Hey, Robin. Real quick, can you just lower your screen just a tiny bit?
Yeah, sometimes your hands are going off.
Your hands are going off screen.
Yeah, I was noticing that too. Good job.
I know.
Much
I
better, yeah.
just when I hear doctors give you a short period of time, you can break that cycle by showing them that you're taking interest in yourself, and notes on your whatever you're talking about, boom, gets their attention every time. That's what I do with all of my doctors at this point.
Mhm.
Excellent. Well, hey, I know Aubrey. It looks like we had a stack of like 7 videos, and I know I only contributed the one. So
Some of them
the
are I
videos.
think some of the video. Yeah, some of the
We're all good
videos.
though.
Good.
Yeah, let's run 1 or 2 of those, and then
All right.
let's get into talking to you.
All right. Sounds good. Okay. Here we go.
Gliadin is produced when gluten is broken down in the stomach. There are a few known ways of transporting gliadin into the lumen of the intestine. One starts with secretory IgA picking up gliadin and bringing it to transferrin receptors on the surface of cells. The gliadin is then transcytosed into the lamina propria.
Sorry, I clicked on the wrong one. Let me click on the right one now.
Let me just say something
I
really quick.
apologize. Yes.
We do videos all the time, and those are my least favorite. Those make me feel stupid. I'm like, I think I got 2 words in that whole sentence.
All right,
I love those videos. They're my favorite.
I love
I eat them up.
I'm more about the preschool ones where they show the little poopies.
So funny. All right, I'm going to get the actual one that we're supposed to start with. All right, here we go.
Being gluten-free is sometimes seen as a fad or a health craze, but in patients with celiac disease, it's serious business. Celiac disease is a chronic autoimmune disorder that affects the small intestine. The immune system of these patients reacts abnormally to gluten, a protein found in wheat, barley, and rye, causing inflammation and damage to the lining of the small intestine. Now, when a patient with celiac disease eats foods containing gluten, their immune system causes damage to the tiny finger-like projections called villi that line the inside of the small intestine. This damage can make it difficult for the body to absorb nutrients from food, leading to malnutrition and a range of symptoms. What's tricky is that it's the immune response and not the gluten itself that causes the damage. This is why a tiny amount of gluten, anything above 20 to 50 milligrams, can trigger a significant response with significant symptoms. For context, the average American consumes around 20,000 milligrams of gluten a day. Symptoms of celiac disease can vary widely and include abdominal pain, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, and fatigue. You may know people who don't have celiac disease but get these kind of symptoms from eating gluten. This is called non-celiac gluten sensitivity. We diagnose celiac disease based on blood tests looking for antibodies and an EGD to visualize the small intestine and take biopsies to look for inflammatory cells at the microscopic level. But non-celiac gluten sensitivity is diagnosed based on a patient's symptoms alone. The only treatment we have right now for celiac disease is a strict gluten-free diet. This means avoiding all foods that contain any amount of gluten. Avoiding gluten is very important for patients who have celiac disease because if they eat gluten, they'll develop low blood counts, vitamin D deficiency, malnutrition, and be at increased risk of small intestine cancer and lymphoma. Non-celiac gluten sensitivity doesn't carry these same risks, but avoiding gluten helps these patients feel much better. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments and tell me which disease I should discuss next.
That was very
quick
rundown.
That one. You can add little pictures in case you don't know what wheat and rye looks like.
So like you were saying, it's wheat, rye, and barley. Those are the 3 main ones that contain gluten, nothing else.
What I got out of that one, the one that scared me was how little of an amount. He said like 0.25, and he said to give you context, the average American consumes 20,000 in a day.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what? Oh my God.
It's a microscopic little tiny dot. If someone blows a wheat booger on your chest, you might catch something.
Oh yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. So let's get into the one that I had to click out of. So we're going to start that one over again.
Oh man, okay.
Gliadin is produced when gluten is broken down in the stomach. There are a few known ways of transporting gliadin into the lumen of the intestine. One starts with secretory IgA picking up gliadin and bringing it to transferrin receptors on the surface of cells. The gliadin is then transcytosed into the lamina propria. Another way involves bringing the gliadin between enterocytes. Gliadin reacts with CXCR3 receptors on enterocytes, causing zonulin to be released. Zonulin regulates tight junctions between the enterocytes. Excess zonulin creates a leaky gut, allowing gliadin to flow into the lamina propria. Once the gliadin reaches the lamina propria, transglutaminase 2, or tissue transglutaminase, deamidates the gliadin. This deamidated gliadin is received by HLA, DQ2, or DQ8 antigen-presenting cells. MHC2 molecules on the cell surface present the gliadin to CD4+ T cells, which signal an immune response.
That is so cool.
Oh, neat. I always learn so much from those.
Oh my God, I love those.
Sucked.
That's
You know what I felt like? I felt like I was watching like an episode of Star Wars when I hadn't watched it for 3 years and I don't know who the characters are.
Oh no.
There was RDL4s connecting to RD, and then there was the Romulans against the, the Borg. I don't know what the hell was going on.
He's bringing Star Trek into it.
I'm like, wow, Star Trek Star Trek has made the president. It's fine. I mean, you can always watch my Captain Logs.
All of a sudden, the cells were at Mordor. It was just very confusing for me.
So
I am not a nursing student.
I love those scientific-y ones.
I think they're so like the gliadin. So they're talking about that's like the wheat protein, right? And so then it goes into the cell itself, and it binds the protein because it's glutinous, because of the glutinous binding properties that it binds to the receptor of the T cell. The T cell is your immune response, right? It's your immune.
Right.
And so when it binds to it, it activates an immune response. That's what it's talking about. And the little plant-like looking things are going like this.
Yes,
that's
little
the wall
carriers.
of your intestine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all that's what that is explaining.
Yeah.
I would appreciate having you in the corner as like my Japanese interpreter. Because they may as well have been speaking Japanese as far as I'm concerned.
All right, I'm gonna hit one more just so we have
All
it,
right.
so we can. All right.
Imagine if you had to let the band down and cancel the tour because you're too sick to go.
What would it be like to work through a migraine headache for fear that your boss wouldn't understand another absence?
What if you had to start every first date with your digestive health history and worry that there wouldn't be a second date again?
What if your child got left out of every school event, party, and snack time?
What would it be like if you felt sick all the time but didn't want your kid to worry?
Imagine wondering if your baby would grow up to have a serious autoimmune disease.
It's not just about the gluten-free diet.
You may not be able to see it, but the physical and emotional impacts of celiac disease are real and can be devastating.
All right, that sounds like that's a good transition point for us to get into the.
Definitely.
Yeah,
now we can grill the person that we're going to interview. I'll go warm up the
You can
grill.
really see like how it affects all aspects of your life. I mean, especially being a parent, I can imagine just feeling sick but not wanting your kid to like.
Be worried about you and yeah.
Right,
I mean, especially since a lot of people don't really understand like how that affects your body as a whole. They're like, well, can't you just have a little bit? And it's like, no.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah. All right. Hit me with the questions.
I will no. Hold on, real quick. I will be honest with you because I'm feeling a little bit bad now. But like, I remember, especially when I was like in high school, and there'd be like people that say, "Oh, I can't have gluten products." I didn't know that it was associated to a disease. I really thought it was more of a preference thing of like being bougie. You know what I mean? That's honestly what I used to associate.
That's fair.
A lot of people do.
Because that's the way society presents it.
Right.
Yeah,
and I didn't
people
realize, like when they did that scene where she's like, imagine going on a date and you haven't explained your history and wondering if you're going to get a second date. Like, that was when it occurred to me. I was like, oh crap, like I remember thinking that it was somebody's preference, not necessarily that, it would cause them to die.
It's been very,
So yeah. All right. Let the grilling commence.
Okay.
You said, this is a family thing for you, right? So your mom or dad had it?
Yeah, we think it's actually passed through my dad, but my sister cannot have it. My older sister and I are both celiac.
Oh, wow.
Just the two of you, or are there other kids?
I think my dad probably has it as well, but yet has refused to believe that for years.
But I mean, you don't have any brothers or anything, do you?
I do, but he's not at least presented it. He's not manifested.
And that's what I was trying to figure out is like, if I was somebody that had this and then, I had, say, 3 children, would all 3 children have this by default?
No,
or is it just like a random,
Well, okay,
randomization.
so if you think about how we pass on our our genes to our children, right? There's this percentage that you may have it. My sister and I both have the celiac gene.
Right.
So a lot of these, so we have a predisposition to developing celiac over my other siblings because we carry the same gene, the same gene expressions from both parents.
Right.
My other siblings are all half.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that would okay.
That explains
So
that. Okay.
so even though it may be, and the thing is, it may be also that my dad and my dad may have it, his gene expression, and my mom may just be a carrier. So it's just like it's double bad for us.
Right.
My mom has a lot of the same symptoms, but she also has this really hard time of not eating it, and then she pays for it later.
Right.
But I think my dad also carries it as well. I think they're both carriers, so we have a double chance of having that gene expression. That makes sense.
Okay, so if your dad was say in denial and maybe your
My dad
mom
is still
didn't
there.
know, then is this something that you had to deal with in your childhood and was it
My
treated
mom.
then?
So my mom thought that I was celiac when I was much younger as well, and I refused to believe it for a long time.
So
I
obviously she
didn't.
knew what celiac was then,
Was
even if
she
she
did.
was like in
I had a
denial.
lot of, but I had a lot of physical issues, and I just wanted to be normal. So I was like, no, I want to eat all of it because I love pizza and I loved all of these like junky
Oh,
foods as well. And I was
Right.
like, no, I just want to be a kid. I'm tired
yeah.
of having to be like that health food nut and the weird kid. And so I was very
Right.
adamant about eating these. Of course, but I suffered for them. It was really bad.
Oh God, I
So
was
yeah,
just
so I
on that
that I
video
did
when she
not
was
know.
talking about the kids, like made me think of the little Jehovah Witness kids in our classroom. You know what I mean? Like they
They're my
couldn't
greatest
participate
friends.
in the
They're forever doing
parties
it.
and eat the
Mm-hmm.
cupcakes and things like that. That sucks, man. So
I got a
you
question for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do people approach this kind of like when you tell them I'm vegan and they go, oh, so you can have lamb and you can have fish? It's like, well, no, I'm vegan. That
Yeah.
means I eat plant-based foods.
I mean, I'm
And they're
also vegan, so yes.
Yeah, no,
It's
I
not
know that,
that
but I mean,
done.
but basically, people will come at you because I watched how people did this to my girlfriend's middle daughter and be like, "Oh, well, you can have this pizza then." No, only if it's gluten
No.
free. Oh, you can have these cookies only if they're gluten free. You don't understand. It
Right.
can't have wheat,
Yeah,
this, and this in it.
I
And,
understand. And that's what I'm saying. Like, as I said earlier, a lot of people also mistake that as for not being able to have grains. They're like, well, why can you have rice and not wheat? And I'm like,
'cause-
well, it's specifically the gluten that's specifically to celiacs, it's only found in wheat. That protein
yes,
Right.
is only
exactly.
in wheat. And they're like, but it should be in other grains as well. Well, yes, it's in barley and rye. Well, does that mean you can have buckwheat? No.
No, oh my God.
But John, I'm
So
wondering if your question there goes back to kind of my misconception. Maybe it's a
Yes,
large public misconception that it's a choice, kind
yes,
of
and
like
that's
it's
kind of what I
not.
was
some
trying.
people.
Yeah, I was tying it into
That's
that a
why
little.
oftentimes, like, to kind of sidestep that, instead of saying I have celiac or that I'm gluten free, I say I'm allergic to
Yeah,
wheat
Because people understand that
because
word.
people take that
right.
much more seriously
When
than
you say I
saying
have an
I have
autoimmune
celiac.
disorder or disease, they don't get that.
Or if I say
Right.
I can't have wheat, they don't understand what that means. And they're like, well, why
Exactly.
is it just wheat specifically? I'm like, well, because I can't process the protein. Well, isn't gluten found in everything? No, it's not. So it's
No,
like you have to get into this, and it's like, oh, so you're part of that gluten free fad? It's like, no,
no, it's not a fad. It's not a
not a
gimmick.
fad. It's
It's not
just
a
like a
club.
peanut allergy. It's a really dangerous a really dangerous like disorder that can really mess me up. So it's a really interesting like
It's
kind of
funny
thing.
how
It's the same how that
it's funny
works.
how you
Uh-huh.
kind of have to talk to people sometimes to get them to understand. It'd be kind of like for example, I'm not saying this is serious like you. I'm just it's what made me think of it. But like my son doesn't like cheese, right? So
Hmm.
I know anytime we go through a hamburger place, we always have to specifically say a hamburger with no cheese. And then sometimes I'd follow it up with my son is allergic. If you don't
Yes,
say that he's
I would do
allergic,
that.
there's a 50% chance you're going to get cheese on it, even if you
Exactly.
didn't ask for it.
Mhm.
But if you
Exactly.
say he is allergic, usually all of the burgers came out, the way we
Just the way you want
requested
them.
them.
Yes, because they
Yeah.
heard the word
Exactly.
allergic.
So
Ex-
last Friday I went to a birthday party and I stupidly had some
Oh,
fries that
oh
is
no,
in the same.
you have
Yes,
what?
I had
fries.
fries. There was just they had some fries and I was
There's
like, you know
wheat
what, I'm
in
gonna
fries?
no, but like you were talking about with peanut oil, how it can get onto things and that person it cross contamination.
Oh.
So when things are fried, and a lot of people don't understand this too. This is a misconception. It's like, oh well, you can have this fried thing, even though it didn't have,
No, you
you
can't.
know, didn't have any. It wasn't like in the same oil. Now it's
Contaminated
not a
oil.
lot, but it's enough to cause damage. So,
Yes.
Right. Well, we heard how little it took for it to cause damage in that last video. or the
and
video
just
before.
imagine if you have something that's fried with something that's battered, right? In
In a
flour, which is,
wheat-based flour,
ground
yes.
wheat, and how much that cross contamination, especially if you have it fried over,
I used to
over
fry
time.
Kentucky Fried Chicken, so I know a lot about that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that stuff will
Yes, it sure
transfer
will.
over. Even if it's a vegan fryer, it still can be a gluten fryer. And that's
Exactly.
why it's like, I don't know why they don't take it more seriously at these
They
places
should.
and have like a separate fryer just for like non-gluten vegan things. And that's the other thing too, is after you've been a vegan for a long time, your body stops processing the amino acids that you need to break down meat. So if you've been a vegan for years and you're trying to reintroduce it back to your life, you have to start in small amounts
Very
because
small, yes.
because you have to build up a tolerance for it again. Just like anything else. That's why it's like our bodies are not naturally made for these things. So after you don't have them for a while, you don't have like the tolerance for them. So it's the same exact thing. So if I have something that I accidentally eat that's meat as well, the same thing, I also like get a tummy ache, or I'll be like, I'll have food poisoning symptoms.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's the same exact thing when I have something that's fried in the same oil. I was like, whatever, it's fine. I'll take an allergy thing. No, I had to take 4 Benadryls. Still did not really work. And I was an itching mess. Like I have like bruises all over my body from scratching so hard.
Oh
Because
no.
I broke out in horrible hives. Oh yeah, I'm still having repercussions from it. I had horrible acid reflux. I
Oh.
was in so much pain Friday night.
Wow.
I hurt everywhere. Oh yeah, it was awful. I mean,
Aubrey,
and I just
how
was like,
Now, I have a couple questions.
Yeah, of course.
When
Go
this
ahead.
happened, so you said this happened recently, right? How long does it happen? Is it 24 hours and you're back to normal, or a couple days, or
No,
a
usually it
week,
takes about
or
48 hours.
oh,
48 to
48
72
hours?
hours to be
And you're
completely
just
back to
feeling
normal.
awful, nauseous that
Hey, we got
time?
the Scholar Monk tuning in, you guys.
Hey,
What's
Scholar
up,
Monk.
Just let you know.
Yeah, I get acid reflux, like indigestion, like my that's not real sign language. Oh.
Are you faking the funk down there, Robin? So hopefully Scholar knows some sign language, or he can keep us straight.
Oh
All
my
right, Robin.
goodness.
Yeah, and then also too, I know sometimes your hands were dipping below.
Yeah.
Also, for some viewers that don't, that this may be your first time, Robin deals with cerebral palsy, and so sometimes it's a little bit difficult for his hands to get correct,
Yeah,
where
all
they
the
need to be.
movements. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Please be gentle with him.
Yeah,
He's
Robin's our buddy.
Yeah.
He tries as hard as he can. So
That's
okay,
like with
so
third
it lasts for 48
Mhm.
hours. Okay, here's another thing I want to know.
Mhm.
Have your symptoms been the same all your life, or do they change over time?
They
Like, would
change.
it be,
They have
oh,
changed
that sucks.
so I did not start getting the hives until later. So how it started first was the weight gain. I actually gained a lot of weight through it. In my high school years, I was very big girl. So, but that's like you get bloating, you get like lethargy. Like I would crash right after I would eat. When I was in high school, when I would eat anything with gluten, I would just have this crashing period, and I didn't know what it was, but I would always get really tired. And then the next thing was I got indigestion / acid reflux. I had nights where I was so bloated from gas that would, like, I couldn't sleep. It was that
That's an
bad.
awful feeling too.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like it's
And,
so much gas you can barely breathe. Like I could not breathe. It
and
felt
that
like
acid reflux was tied to your celiacs.
yes.
Oh my goodness.
And then I started getting like acid headaches and acid reflux. Really bad. Like it was so bad, I would have to take a Prilosec daily. It was
Oh, I was on
or
Prilosec for a little
Metoprolol.
while. Wow.
Oh, it was a Metoprolol and Prilosec. Those are the 2 main ones. Yeah, it was so bad. I would have to take that daily just to, like, that's where it got to the point of that. And then the last thing that showed up until I honestly didn't realize I had this. I actually found out by accident that I actually had this immune disease and celiacs. But I'll get to there. You can ask that later in a minute. But yeah, so the last part was the rash, was the dermal, was the itching at night, was the like I would start getting hives really bad.
Right.
And that was so bad that it like yeah, it got really like I literally couldn't sleep.
Well,
the one I don't start. Oops, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
How quickly do symptoms start? Do they vary, or do they start right away?
I think it depends.
Depends
it
on the
varies.
quantity.
Depends on the quantity. It does, because I've had some that haven't had as much cross contamination. Some things, and it takes a little longer. But sometimes it can take anywhere from 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, to 2 hours for it to start.
Gotcha. Okay,
I mean, I've had it where I've eaten something with a high quantity of wheat in it, and immediately like we'll have, gonna get a little gross, but even before the meal is over, I'll have to run to the bathroom because I have to either I have diarrhea or I have to throw up.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah,
that must make going to restaurants for you a nightmare.
It is, because you don't know what they have that has wheat, unfortunately, because they do not have that. Now they have it more, but before
they're getting better. Yes,
getting better. But before, I did not know what they
even
had.
The cooks, I'm sure too, a lot of times maybe cross contaminate and don't even know they're doing it. All right, go ahead. You got a really bad echo.
Really bad echo.
Robin, can you type it out? Because you got a really bad echo. We can't hear.
Yeah, it's.
Wow, that's incredible. And it seems to me, at least from what I gathered from the one video, that this is not something like you can take a pill and it'll block that. This is a very and all or nothing kind of a thing. You just simply cannot have. There's not anything you can do for it, or
I mean, I've had to go to the ER before because I had something that had wheat in it, and this was after I had not had anything with wheat for years. At this point, it was probably 2016 and 17. I had to go to the ER. I thought I was dying. It was so bad.
Wow.
And I was like doubled over in pain. Like I was having, like it felt like my intestines were twisting into knots. It was so bad. And I thought I was gonna have a bursting appendix or something. Like,
wow.
Appendicitis.
I feel like I would be paranoid to eat anywhere except for my own house where I can monitor.
I can see. Yeah, that's how my girlfriend's daughter. Yeah, she wouldn't trust any place.
And yeah, so it's a really interesting thing. And I didn't start getting that until I would have the gas pains. I would have like stuck gas, or I would have pains, but I never associated that with celiacs.
I'm gonna say it right now. I not to unscholarly guy. I'm doing mental language. I know exact sign in English. I'm learning ASL, so back off, dude. Well, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh, I'm gonna say right now, I feel like in the 41 episodes we've done, this may be the most important episode we have done.
Oh, by far.
Because this is something that I think is so misunderstood. I'm going to be honest with you. Like I said, I misunderstood until we've had this, this conversation, and thankfully we've had Aubrey to explain this to us. Again, I thought, I don't like gluten. I thought it was a preference kind of a thing. I didn't know that it could actually affect people. And then when I hear about how many different ways it can affect people, I think this is a very important episode because it can open people's eyes to other things that people are dealing with. And I don't know how I got it in my head that, maybe I thought this was just like a hippie movement kind of thing or something. Why did I think that this was, but it's got to have been planted there somewhere. You know what I mean?
It's the way society presents it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's media. It's all the way media. It's companies. It's it's the way that it gets portrayed as, oh, get this fatty thing, and it's like, no, it's not.
It's not a trend.
It's not a trend. Don't make money off of my issues. So
right.
And
I'm going to be
unfortunately, they
honest.
put wheat in everything too. And it's a really like, and they're like, why is this a problem? And it's like, well, there's, again, just label your food. Like, that's all you have to do. And
Exactly.
and
With
don't
what's
put it out as
exactly
it's
in
a
them.
big fad because because it actually, even if you don't have celiacs and you have intolerance, and a lot of people, they have shown in studies that a lot of people eventually become intolerant to wheat, especially because of the GMOs in wheat. And this is why the non-GMO thing is also a big thing happening, because when I was in Japan, for instance, this was in 2014, this is when I was still relatively new in my discovery of being a celiac and living as a celiac. What I did notice is in wheat that was grown in Japan specifically, or in the UK and in Japan, at least at that time, I didn't have these reactions to, which is really fascinating as a celiac. It was really interesting. So it was like US stuff that had been processed in the US specifically, I had worse reactions to than anything I had, which is because Japan also grows their own wheat. And a lot of people don't know that either. And there's also European wheat. But the wheat that is specifically grown in Japan, it was a lot less caustic to my system. And the second I had something that was made from US wheat, bam, all of my symptoms came back.
Wow.
My immune response did not like it at
Yeah.
all. So it's really interesting how that happens.
I got some other questions for you. My girlfriend's sister, also, she's celiac, but she has these other things. She's also allergic to kidney beans, eggs, and things like that. Are you?
Eggs. I cannot have eggs.
Okay.
Eggs actually cause some very similar symptoms. It
That
actually
thank you.
causes a lot
Yes.
of so I wonder if there's a link there. If you are allergic, if you have if you have celiacs, I wonder if it also causes intolerances to other things such as eggs. Like egg whites I can tolerate,
But the
but
yellow.
if I have the yolk,
Okay.
I can't tolerate the yolk.
Maybe
Which is why
some
for all
protein that's
intents
in
and
the yolk.
purposes, I'm a vegan. That's why. But I do have
Well,
some
yes.
things that are gluten free that have like egg whites in them that I don't
Yes.
eat because of that need. That's why I say I'm basically vegan. However, yeah, there's a weird link to that
Because
because
it's hard to get away from things made with eggs.
It is hard.
Because it's practically used in everything we make.
Pretty much, yeah. They're starting to get
There are
better
things
about
without
it.
it, but you got to really look for it.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting is that I'm also more predisposed to having the other things to talk about, like migraines. I get migraines all the time.
Oh,
Because of it.
dang.
Yeah, dairy is a big trigger, which is why I can't have dairy. So like just all of these things kind of coalesce together, and it could all because of the celiac disease I have. I did not realize that it causes malabsorption of the. So I'm still learning about my own disease. Still learning what happens. Like
Very complex. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that because anemia, for instance, panic attacks, anxiety caused by that as well. That I did not know either because I was having panic attack. I was having, and I didn't even realize that was what going on. And I thought it was because of a thyroid issue, which is another thing. Your thyroid gets weakened by this immune disease, by being a celiac. There's so much that goes into being a celiac that people just do not understand, and they go, "Oh, you're just playing at it." It's like, no, this actually, I have anemia, I have all of these things, and I'm really good about my diet, about making sure I have plenty of protein because there's plenty of protein found in plenty of plants. I have tofu, which has its own whatever, but I make sure I get a lot of pea proteins, I get a lot of spinach protein, I get a lot of proteins, and yet I'm still anemic at times.
Yeah.
So I have anemia issues, and that's so interesting.
Yeah, seems like that. It's probably got a lot of comorbidities with other things, like tied indirectly to other things. Hey, this is we're having the reverse problem that we've had the last couple of weeks. We're running out of time on this because this one's been such a near and dear topic. Do we have any other videos we want to show?
Yeah, we have two
before?
more. We have the symptoms of celiac, 5 symptoms, or the symptoms that people don't like because it's an invisible. But here are some signs.
Yeah.
There's some signs of it.
5
I mean,
signs.
at least the prevention of it, at least stemming down the symptoms of it are really easy. Just don't have wheat. Just be really careful about what you put about what gets put in your body. But we're going to talk about these symptoms, these signs. All right, here we go.
Celiac disease is estimated to affect nearly 1% of the population in the US. It's a serious condition that can cause a host of issues, including nutritional deficiencies and digestive issues. This means it's definitely something you want to get diagnosed as soon as possible. So in this video, we're looking at 5 of the major signs of celiac disease. Number 1, diarrhea. Frequently experiencing loose, watery stools is one of the first big symptoms that people experience before they're diagnosed with celiac disease. In one small study, 79% of celiac patients reported experiencing diarrhea prior to treatment. Now, following treatment, just 17% of patients continued to have chronic diarrhea. Other studies confirm that this is a major symptom of untreated celiac disease, but of course there are so many things that could cause recurring diarrhea, so you might want to see if you have any of these other symptoms as well. Number 2, fatigue. Decreased energy levels and fatigue are really prevalent with untreated celiac disease. One study of 51 celiac patients found that those who were untreated had significantly more severe fatigue and fatigue-related problems than those on a gluten-free diet. Another study found that those with celiac disease were more likely to have sleep disorders, which could also contribute to fatigue. Additionally, untreated celiac disease can damage the small intestine, which can lead to vitamin and mineral deficiencies, which could ultimately also cause fatigue. Number 3, iron deficiency anemia. So celiac disease can impair nutrient absorption, and this can lead to iron deficiency anemia. This is a condition caused by a lack of red blood cells in the body. Symptoms of iron deficiency anemia include fatigue, weakness, chest pain, headaches, and dizziness. One study looked at 34 children with celiac disease and found that nearly 15% had mild to moderate iron deficiency anemia. Another study with 727 celiac patients reported that 23% were anemic. Additionally, those with anemia were twice as likely to have severe damage to the small intestine, as well as a low bone mass caused by celiac disease. Just be mindful, there are other causes of iron deficiency anemia as well, such as overall poor diet, long-term use of pain relievers like aspirin, and blood loss from heavy menstrual bleeding or peptic ulcers. Number 4, weight loss. A sharp unintentional drop in weight loss or difficulty maintaining weight is also another symptom of celiac disease.
Sorry, that was just half of it. We have the second part. Let's just do that and then we'll talk about it.
One study of 112 participants with celiac disease found that weight loss affected 23% of patients and was one of the most common symptoms following diarrhea, fatigue, and stomach pain. The reason this happens, again, is because the body loses some of its ability to absorb nutrients and therefore calories as well, and this can lead to malnutrition and unintentional weight loss. Number 5, itchy rash. Celiac disease may cause dermatitis herpetiformis, a type of itchy, blistering skin rash that can occur on the elbows, knees, or buttocks. Now, approximately 17% of those with celiac disease experience this rash, and it is one of the telltale symptoms that lead to a diagnosis. It may also develop after diagnosis as a sign of poor adherence to treatment. Interestingly enough, some people may develop this skin rash symptoms without actually experiencing the typical digestive symptoms that you would see with undiagnosed celiac disease. In fact, fewer than 10% of celiac patients who do experience the skin rash actually get digestive symptoms from celiac disease. So it's kind of almost like you either get the skin rash or you get the digestive symptoms. As you can see, if left untreated, celiac disease can have major health issues, including digestive problems, nutritional deficiencies, skin issues, unintentional weight loss, and fatigue. If you suspect you may have celiac disease, you need to get tested by your doctor as soon as possible. Thanks.
There you go. That's all of our videos. Yeah. Thought that was a really good way of like saying some of these signs, like as I said, like anemia. Oh, can you not hear?
Now I can hear. It sounded like it was still running or something like that.
Oh, interesting. That
was weird.
Yeah. So yeah, just for you, Van, just so like, and for everyone, so that you understand. So yeah, I thought that was a really good video of talking about some of the symptoms. What was really interesting is my weight loss. I actually retained weight. It actually caused I didn't start losing a lot of weight. I mean, I was already on a weight loss journey, but I didn't actually have start losing like a lot of the weight that I did until I stopped eating wheat, which is really interesting.
Right.
Because it could have been that there are comorbidities, but I actually, yeah. But it's really interesting how that happened. How they're like, well, you weight loss, you lose weight because you're not absorbing, and it's I didn't have that.
Right.
That's one thing that
Well,
I did
and
not
it
have.
was
But I had
saying
all
that
the others.
it affect the villi, which would be part of your normal absorption, and if it's like constantly like breaking it down and stuff like that, I can imagine it gets harder to eat even food that you can tolerate. Wow. And unfortunately, I don't know if you have any little words of wisdom, Aubrey, but as I said earlier, it seems like this one's kind of an all or nothing kind of thing. There's not a pill you can take. There's not an exercise you can do. There's not breathing techniques. It's, if you get hit with it, you get hit with it.
It's just like an allergy. Stay away from it. That's all I can really say by it.
Wow.
Sort of advice.
Well, that makes the third act of the show a lot shorter.
Yes. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. They're like sleep disorders, yes. The anemia, yes. I would actually I still get it, but and that comes with blood. I also have really low blood pressure too, and I don't think that is something that's with it. But you can have a combination of things where it doesn't hit you as much, or it can hit you really bad.
Right.
And because I have low blood pressure too, I would get dizzying spells regardless. But yeah, a lot of those I have most of those. I had most of those. Yeah, so it is. So literally check if you suspect that you may have a gluten disorder, that you're experiencing some of these things, go get checked for celiac.
How do they check? Is it a blood test that they do?
Yeah, they could do a blood test. They can also check your immune response to it. That's another thing. It's just like an allergy immune response. They will, like they do any allergy panel.
They do like a little grid on you.
Yeah, they'll do a grid.
I've seen people that had like a grid on their back, and there's they do each one with a different thing. Okay.
Yeah, they didn't do that for me. They were just like, oh yeah, we saw no reaction. I'm like, yeah, it's because I don't really have wheat.
Wow.
I don't have any wheat or anything, so of course you're not going to really see a reaction. But yeah, so that's really it. It's really just very cut and dry. Just make sure you limit your wheat, especially U.S. wheat. If you go to another country, check to see if those ones that are grown there, you have the same responses to it because they are different.
Right.
And yeah, just make sure that you are really up on it. And don't make fun of people who have it. Don't make fun of people or even gluten intolerances. There's a reason. It's not just a fad.
You know what? I think I don't 100% know, but I was thinking about where would I, why would I think that? What would cause me to think it was a trend or a fad or something? You know what it was is I think when I first started hearing about gluten-free products was at the same time when you started hearing about low fat or low sugar and all these deceptive ways that food companies were trying to market their products, with low sugar, but it's still got, a lot of other really bad things. I think it was at that time period that I also I started hearing things about no gluten or low gluten. And so it seemed to me almost like, when the tobacco companies say, oh, cigarettes aren't bad for you. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It seemed to be another one of those jargony terms that the food companies throw out there to make you think it's a better product. I didn't know that it actually affected people's health.
Here, drink our sugar water. We call it soda pop.
I mean, yeah, that's what. They'll have things that are gluten free, naturally that they don't have it, and they're like, "This is gluten free, like it's gluten free now." Oh no!
Do they make gluten free water?
Extra money, and it's a money based thing, and I can see why people have that.
Hey, we got James Navarro.
What is up? Someone want to read James's question?
Yes, absolutely. Do you think celiac disease and lactose intolerance are more common than we know of, just based on what we consider food?
Oh, heck yes.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, most people become intolerant to both of these things, and these are both very highly into our diet. Actually, they talk about in basic biology, you learn that by the time people were five, like we're the only mammals that drink milk from
Milk of another animal.
It's meant for a baby animal at that.
It's meant for a baby animal.
A baby cow.
Imagine cow's milk is made for a little baby cow that starts off about 20 pounds to becoming a 1,000-pound animal. Think about that. And we drink that and eat that daily.
We're ingesting the hormones and all of that.
Yeah, the chemicals that are being inserted into that cow so that it can be raised quicker, so they can get it to market, make their money. I was watching a video today, related but not the same, and they were talking about men who were taking hormones, women hormones, so that they could lactate. And they were talking about, men can lactate, but think about the chemicals that you're putting into your baby's body to be able to have that privilege to do that. You know what I mean?
Another thing that's really interesting. So they also talk about having low calcium. I do not have low calcium. I actually have overcalcified bones, actually. Oh, wow. I've never had a broken bone in my life. I've had microfractures, but that is because, and this is going to go into the next thing. Most kids who drink milk in early age, like cow's milk, actually has less bone density than those that don't. I was extremely intolerant to milk as a baby. So I didn't drink milk or cow's milk as a baby, or when my bones were also developing. I actually have very calcified, I have very strong bones because of that. They have shown in studies that those that drink milk at those age are more likely to get osteoporosis and also have weakened bones in childhood.
Interesting.
So it's the exact opposite of what they say that in studies that are paid by these milk and dairy companies that will calcify your bone. No, they add calcium to it, but it also doesn't help because it actually takes the calcium from your bones so that it can digest it. Very interesting. Also, another thing that I thought was really interesting. Sorry, I'm trying to get this all to answer so also, they say that you should not, after the age of 5, they have shown this in biology, you should not be drinking milk. It's actually not recommended for you to have any dairy after the age of 5 either. I don't think you should have it anyways, but as a child, I mean, if you're adult and or a teenager, whatever, have at it. But I think it should be until the age of 5 or even afterwards, you shouldn't be having any milk. Right. So that's my takeaway. It's my caveat of it. So yeah, there's comorbidities with it, but I do think that everyone over time does become.
And now they've got soy milk, they've got oat milk, they've got rice milk, they've got all these different alternatives.
Yeah, my mom had to give me some. I was a projectile vomiter as a baby, and if I had any dairy, projectile vomiter.
Oh no!
Wow.
I did basically The Exorcist would happen.
That's what I was just going to say. The Exorcist.
Yeah, if you want to think about it, 6 feet was like my record, man. It was amazing. And
wow.
So my mom had to make all of these alternatives for me to be able to have it. I did have goat's milk. I did not have a problem with goat's milk. But
goat's milk is actually good.
It tastes really good too. It's actually very tasty. I can't have it now, or at least I haven't gone to have it. I haven't tried drinking it now because of my migraines, but I don't want to have a chance of that in there.
Don't blame you.
My mom had to make, before all of these things were big, she would make an oat milk. She would make all of these different, she would use molasses. She would all of these things that actually helped, that were, substitutes for milk. Another thing I do want to say before we go, there is a misconception that gluten is also found in oats. It is not.
No,
a lot of times in oats, they add wheat protein to it to make it more fibrous. So if you see gluten-free oats, it just means they didn't add the gluten, the formula of grain, wheat flour to oats, basically.
She'll get there.
I'll get there. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys. If there's any other questions, we can go. We can end the.
Yeah, no,
I like answering these questions.
That was a great question.
This is a really great question. To finish off. For those that don't know, if you have not had a chance to check out Distance Nerding, you can find Distance Nerding anywhere they podcast. They're also on the Comic-Con network. Those
Yeah,
that is
Yeah,
our
these guys
sister
are actually
channel.
really cool, man. I watched a couple of their stuff on rerun, and I'm like, oh man, I got to watch these guys live sometime.
that
Dude,
is our partner crew. In fact, several of the hosts from Kyber Cave Productions are also on
I've
Distance
been on
Nerding.
there. Mr. Force has been on there. Graveyard is a regular there. Yeah,
Oh,
Distance
awesome.
Learning. These guys are my friends, Jamez and Phil. They're my good friends, and I
That is
appreciate
so
them.
cool.
I was just
I
talking to them
adore
today.
them.
I got a call from a promoter doing a con in Nevada. Robin, your echo is terrible, bro. I don't know what it is either, but it's very.
I don't know.
Yeah, I
It's
was
really
talking to a
bad.
producer out in Nevada about
Oh,
them.
thank you. It just popped up over here.
Oh yeah,
Hop
there we
on
go.
over and
We
nerd
nerd
out with
out.
us.
Yeah, check
nerd
out.
out with
Head
us.
over to Distance Nerding in about 10 minutes.
About 10 minutes?
After
All right.
this.
I have to grab my wireless headphones. Throw them
Yes,
on.
we did. I didn't forget Frey. I know Graveyard and Frey are both over
Yeah.
there. Frey is a
And Frey.
dude,
I forgot Frey.
her
it was
encyclopedia
me.
knowledge
It
of
was
comic
me.
books
Forget
is
it.
actually kind of scary.
That's amazing. I wanna talk to her more about all of those. We also got to talk about Star Trek for like an hour. It was amazing.
Yeah,
She's
she has
amazing.
knowledge
Anyways,
of
and
comic
I love
books.
our sister show. They are fantastic.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Make sure to check out Kyber Cave Productions every day of the week. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. we've got our is it with you, Aubrey, or with Metz tomorrow?
It's both of us. Most likely, unless something comes up, it'll either be Mezzo and myself, or it'll be me.
I've been promoting this show and all your other ones too on my on my TikTok.
Thank you.
That's a live stream at 10 a.m. On Thursdays, we have live gaming at usually 8 or 7 or 8, I think.
8:15. It's about 8:15,
Yeah,
8:20.
about 8 o'clock at night.
And I've been running that lately.
Upload. Video game uploads. Saturdays is Saturday morning nerd out at 10 a.m. talking about all the current events and shows in your nerdy categories. Sundays is Saber Rattle. We do interviews, Comic Con reports, and flow of the show. Monday, what do we do Mondays?
Was that retro gaming?
Oh, it's Retro Alcove.
Retro Alcove.
Oh my gosh, what's wrong with me?
Retro Alcove is an upload.
Retro Alcove, that's what it is.
Retro Alcove
is an upload show.
I just did a recording for Retro Alcove, like right before I came on here. Good job, me.
Then you couldn't remember.
Aubrey is working on a show, and guess what? I'm kind of excited. I started talking to I'm kind of in the mini works. I know I talk about different shows and stuff like that, but this one I think will be good, and I've got somebody else that is excited about it. But Anthony is hopefully coming back to the channel. We are talking about doing a show together called Unpopular Opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That'll be fun. I'm sure.
Nice.
I'm trying to get him to come back and do stuff with me as well.
We miss Anthony, dude. That guy's
we miss
a rock
him.
star.
I miss him. I was like, we need to come back and do gaming with me more, or we need to get 2 Queens and a 4s back. Also, I asked him if he wanted to be on the new order. John, we need to do your pregame recording. We're gonna record all of them. So,
okay.
I'm excited about when the new order comes out. So
I'm so excited. We're gonna be doing it within like the end of this month. We're gonna do our first recording. So I keep saying it, like we're gonna do it. It's gonna happen. It's just all this stuff, all this pre stuff has.
It's a lot. It really is. It's a lot behind the scenes to get ready for any of this stuff.
Yep.
Right.
But it will happen.
Yeah, there is a lot of behind the scenes work. So hopefully our good friend Anthony Allen will be back on the channel soon.
Now, do I know him, or has he not been on since I've been here?
He was on Kyber Cave After Dark.
Yes.
When we used to run that.
Okay.
He would sometimes do the cosplay. He would come in as a different character. He was a drag queen. So.
Oh, that's cool. I've been a drag queen before. That's cool.
Any of the, not any, because he wasn't on every show. Because especially the last month that we were running it, he was doing Rent. So he wasn't on because he had rehearsals.
He was fantastic.
Oh, that's cool.
So
that's
good.
cool. I love that.
I want to do more
that.
acting stuff with him because he's so good.
Yeah, I told you that man's a star. That he's like an untapped talent. We are very fortunate to have him. So I'm excited to get him back on the channel any way we can. All right, guys. I think it's a good place for us to wrap up for tonight.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Next week, are we still in the GI series or? Are we?
Yes, there are still some. We still have a few until we finish the GI series, and then we will move on to I don't know, either to another series or we'll get into something else.
Right.
Yeah, where's your glasses? This is like high school rom-com. Take your
He's got it
glasses off
right.
and you're the
He's got it
cutest
right
girl in
there.
school.
You see how there's one lens and one no lens? My son was helping me try to super glue these on when these broke, and then got super glue all across the lens. So I'm going to the doctor's next week, but I was like,
I could just see him driving like this with his car, going, "Okay, okay."
Yeah.
I guess having one working eye is better than none.
Yeah. So shout out to Chris Stratton real quick. I know he said it earlier, but thank you for coming back
thank you, Chris.
for Robin and helping to explain that. Yeah, it unfortunately, as somebody who also has some gross motor function issues, it is harder to sign. I used to be paralyzed completely on my right side when I was a child, so it
wow.
So yeah, I had a lot of issues as a kid. So yeah,
the more I learn about you, the more I like you. I'm sorry.
James, I have an eye exam next week, and then
it is hard to sign those. Yeah,
it's like that with all you guys. It's like the more I learn about you guys, it's like, holy cow, these guys are human.
Hey, Frey, it's my girl.
Of course,
Frey.
everybody jumps in.
You got Frey girl. Oh.
Yeah,
she's one of the ones I've seen in replay, and you are awesome, Frey girl.
He's amazing.
You are amazing.
I just wanted him to say, because he's like, I also have cerebral palsies, and it is hard to sign everything. So thank you again, Chris, for coming to Robin's defense. Like, we love our boy Wonder.
Yeah, we do. We love this guy a lot. He
does a lot for us on the show.
Yeah, he does. He's amazing.
All right, y'all. We will be back here next week at 5:00 on Tuesday.
Yes.
For all of you that are finishing off here, you can head to 1 to 3 plays. You can head to Disney to watch the big episode of Ahsoka. Supposedly the game.
I can't wait to ever watch it.
This is the only Disney streaming show that they're playing in movie theaters. It's playing in select theaters across the country.
I may have to show this on my Twitch.
Or I would suggest, since Disney you can watch anytime, I would suggest heading over to Distance Nerding and getting in on their show, hanging out with Frey and
That's true.
Phil and Jamie 5000, and then watch Ahsoka later, or you can just go to bed.
Anyways, I'm gonna go.
All right, y'all.
We're all gonna go.
We're all gonna go.
Go and hop on to get into on the Ahsoka.
Activating the TARDIS. There we go. All right. Whoa.
We're gonna go. We are going to engage in warp speed and warp on out of here. I know. I'm making it all. It's a big Star Trek thing. I don't know why.
The Borg's after me.
Captain says, "See you guys." Bye.
Bye. Credits. Zoom, zoom.